Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michelle McKenzie, and I am your book coach today. Look at my shirt. I designed this myself. I'm very happy with it. I am your book coach today, and today we are going to be discussing the market research when it comes to planning your book. Of course, you don't have to do market research, but if you want to get ahead in your author career, it is generally a good idea. So, first things first is deciding what genre you want to write in. Top of the priority list. So, in my case, I started off with crime fiction because that is what I read a lot of. I was reading loads of crime fiction books, like through authors like Patricia Cornwell. For fantasy, I was reading lots of Terry Goodkind books, and think, what book am I reading at the minute? I'm reading Wall by Hugh somebody. It's is the book version of the Silo series, and that's for like dystopia sci-fi. So I am reading different books in different genres. So, but that's what I'm reading now. But when I started, I was reading all of the crime fiction books that I could get my hand on that had like murder mysteries and organized crime, so that I could get to know the genre really well. I was also watching a lot of TV dramas with crime fiction as well, like Murder She Wrote or Diagnosis Murder. A lot of those I was really immersed myself in because I wanted to know the genre really well. Once I knew what genre I no, once you know what genre to write in, then you can go and do the actual research of it. So decide on what retail a store that you're going to put your book on when it's all said and done, and go into the new releases and then see what is selling best on those new releases in that genre. You will want a spreadsheet for this one. So open up a spreadsheet. You want title, author, format, and then you want at least 10 tropes for that book. So all along, it'll be trope 1, trope 2, trope 3. And then you're going to go into each of those top selling books in that genre, read the description and the reviews in the categories, and take note of what it's selling and what they have in common. But book by book, first of all, the tropes that you can see from the book, like from the description to the keywords used to reviews. You can put it all down and then move on to the next one. Say the top 10 minimum. If you want to go all in and you have the time to go all in, then do the top 100. But top 10 to top 20 is your best guess. Best guess? It will do because you want the highest on the list. Further down, not so much. Personally, myself, I do top 10. So, top 10 of those books. Then you want to go on to Amazon because a lot of people do get their books from Amazon and do the same for them. The genre and then new releases and then go through those top 10s as well. Once you have that, we can move on to looking at the data as a whole and see which ones are common. So every like you'll have rather than just like one here, one there, you want to see what the most popular tropes and themes that they have. Which one is showing up the most? And you'll want to put that in a separate column because you're going to need that for later. Once you have done that and you have your column, you can start to work around for your premise. What premise can you think of that you can integrate this column of tropes and themes into your story? For mine, I was looking at espionage thriller, and what came up quite a lot was Russian enemies with, spies. But I did want to add my own little thing in it as well. You don't want a carbon copy of something that's already out there. So I made mine about a married couple who just happens to be spies from different agencies. Top secret. So they have no idea about their past prior to getting married. So then it'll get dragged up to the surface and into the present when the premise starts of the story. Once you have some ideas, say 5 ideas of what different premises that you have for your story, you can then share them on social media and see which ones you get more of a response from. If people are looking and then just scrolling on or coming out of it entirely, and you're not getting that many views, or you're getting views but no engagement, then people ain't really interested. This is how you find your readership as well. Then, once you have an idea that's being responded well to, like you're getting likes and comments and favorites, then you can start working on expanding the premise and working on an outline. The outline, super important as well, as you probably know, because you're going to need that to work your blurb, which is just a longer version of the copy. But you can polish that off later. It does not have to be perfect. The idea is to work out all your keywords, your themes, and your tropes so that you can promote and market your book early. Once you know what categories that you can fit your book into, which themes they have, the different genres it can play into, you have a better, you'll be more marketable. The more tropes, the more people will buy it. So, because it branches out. Once you've done that, then we can move on to the next step. Next steps. You have your concept idea. You know what genre you're going to write. And hopefully, by this point, by the time that you know what genre and what themes you're going to be following, you'll have an idea of what categories to put it in. Now, you need to know and consider who you're going to sell your books to. Some people, they're like, my book is great for everyone. I want to sell to like everyone. I mean, it's not realistic. Everyone could mean a 3-year-old. Is a 3-year-old going to want to read your book? Can they read your book? Or we're looking at teenagers. I mean, you'll have to limit some stuff, live behind the door, leave to imagination kind of thing, but not quite implied. Or you get the adults. And even then, not every adult is going to want to read your book. Some can't stand fantasy, some prefer paranormal romance, which has tropes completely different in a lot of aspects, like shifters, for one, or vampires, which I did right. So, knowing who you're reading the book to, who you're giving, who you're selling the product to, super important before you've even written your word, a single word on your document. So, branch out. You have book groups on Facebook, there's Discord channels for like different readers, Instagram, and brings us back to keywords. Those list of keywords and tropes and themes that we talked about. Stick a hashtag next to them and it will help to hone in on your target audience. Super important. If someone's gonna look at building a house, they're not gonna look at your book as something that will help them unless you're writing a book about building a house. So, get what I mean? Titles are also extremely important because you want to be clear, you want to be concise of what your story is about. And you need to market that as well. Sorry. For instance, on my direct sales, I have plan, plan, publish, succeed. But over on retail, it has a different title. Why? Well, if you type up plan, publish, succeed into the search bar in Amazon, there's more than one book that has that title, but at least two different authors. I don't want to compete with that. So I have then changed it to how to plan a novel or how to plan your novel. It's clear to the point and it tells the reader exactly what my book is about. The book that I'm writing at the moment is called Classified. So you can, straight off the bat, you know it's got secrets, agents, and there's going to be some death. So you know very early on, my book is not going to be for young kids. My book is not going to be for young teenagers. It is going to be more around 15 and over. And there's no behind the scenes for it either. There's no romance in that kind of way that people would not normally see. But young children would not be interested in spies in that way, and espionage, because they're not going to understand espionage. They're going to understand secret spies and secret missions. Espionage, not so much. So it goes into the later teens, new adults, and adults. So it is important to know who you are selling your product to. Super important. So then, once you know, you need to know where they're hanging out or where are they buying their books from. This is why, like, doing the research. I said about retail, where to buy your books and where to place your books, and see which ones will fit your book better. If there's a lot of murder mysteries, you're not going to put an espionage there. You're going to want one that has a more of a volume for the book that you are writing, so that it fits in with the others. Yeah, because that's what's in demand on their store. So, but again, don't Like, avoid using Amazon. Yeah, for a couple of reasons. People do still buy their books from. Readers have no idea about the royalties or the lack of when it comes to bookstores. They only know that there are some royalties and that's where the book is. So, sometimes we just have to kind of take the bullet and, yeah, take the lack of law, the decreasing royalties that they are currently offering. So if you're going to publish with Amazon, you also want to look at price structure. Again, it is something that needs to be considered when it comes to marketing the book, of what prices are more common for that type of book that you are selling. What is the price range? I tend to sell my books at £15 for my novels, and about between £2.99 and £3.99, sometimes £6 for the ebooks. So you have to do your diligence, knowing where to place your book, who your readers are, and the price that you want to sell it at. Once that is covered, then we can go on to the actual planning of your novel. And we can look at story structure, outlining, like the full outline, chapter by chapter, character arcs, and story development. So you've done all your market research. You know what your theme is. You know what keywords that you can use. You have a title, a concept that is being really well received. Start planning and start outlining, writing the story now, right? Not quite. So great, you got the story plan and the audience all ready to go. Fantastic. But it'll be no good if they don't know what they're looking for. So, search term optimization, as the texts call it, SEOs. The bane of my existence. So many messages in my inbox. SEOs galore. Search term optimizations. Just the phrases that's been put into the search bar. It took me a bit. I did the novice thing and just typed out book about dragons, murder mysteries with holidays. Really vague. I've learned the hard way. It did not get any sales. Believe me. So, here's what we do. You don't do that. Instead, think about the tropes and the keywords that you want to have specifically for your story. You want action-packed spies. A betrayal among friends. Maybe a storyline along with grieving. These are key points that you're going to want to include and kind of just weave into the sentences, rather than having a string of words that don't really say anything. So, for instance, for my classified story, a married couple who are married couples who are spies, or secrets that been dragged from the past to the present. Action packed spy thriller with deadly secrets. Okay. Or good old espionage thriller novel with betrayal, grief, and secrets with Russian enemies. You want to get specific. If you have it too vague, the reader is going to have a lot to choose from. Like a lot. So get very specific in your search terms. You want at least a couple of tropes in there, and you want the theme and you want the genre. That is what you need to put into each of your search terms. With Amazon, I think you get is either 6 or 7 boxes. So you can make the sentences as long as you like, but include those key factors. The theme of the story, the genre of the story, and the tropes. So that the main tropes or the main theme or the main themes of the story, or character arcs if it's unusual. That you want to the dominant pieces of your story you will want to embed in those search terms. So when it comes up and I type in something specific, your book is going to come up. Yeah, if you just type in, a book of dragons, you're going to get Dragon Shifters from Paranormal Romances. You're going to get dragons like Chinese New Year. And then you're going to get epic fantasy. Anything that has a dragon in it is a wide range. So be specific. So now you're probably thinking, okay, search terms are done. Everything that you have said is done. Now I can start writing. Hold up. There's still a little bit more work to do. So here's the thing. So you're promoting your book before you've even got started. That's great. Got your keywords and your optimizations all set. So now comes the very last bit before any work actually gets done. This is why, all of this, why it takes me a week to do all of everything. Planning is another week. But this is the last bit of the marketing research part of it. You need a landing page. Yes, I know you don't have a cover yet. But you don't need to have a cover right away. You don't even need to spend money on it. WordPress works just fine. And you can just use the buttons for external links, which is absolutely fine also. So here's the thing. You'll want a banner just for the theme with the title going across it. If it's part of a series, you can have the series underneath that as well. Banners are good, and you can do that on Canva, or a sketch. Just a banner to promote your book. Then you want the blurb. If you don't have a blurb yet, then a hook, which is really important. Hopefully by now, with the search engine optimizations, you'll also have a nice hook to go with it. Yeah. something along the lines of character, state of mind, you want the conflict, and you want the stakes. Yes. See, Cassie has just lost a friend. She's grieving. So, grieving Kathy finds that her best friend's death is anything but natural. Her past has been dragged to the present. The more she digs, the more it drags her back. Something along those lines. So you want character's state of mind. She is grieving. Then you got the conflict. The friend's death is not natural, which means he was murdered. And then you want the stakes. We'll dig in into her friend's murder and end her own. Will she survive it? You want to come up with maybe 10. Then pick the best hook and stick it on your landing page, right with your banner. Once that's done, beneath that, on your landing page still, you're going to want to set up your mailing list. Yes, I know everybody talks about mailing lists. There's a reason for that. It's because it works. And it is literally your fan base right there. So, banner, hook, and if you don't have your book out yet and it's not on pre-order yet, you don't have a cover, you'll want a link for subscription. So, yeah, follow me or join my newsletter for up-to-date progress, discounts for early access. Follow me for the perks and early access of my book so that you can be the first to grab it. Something along those lines. But you will want a mailing list. Super important. For that, you can use BookFunnel. This is only $20 for the year if you're new. Or just go on MailerLite or Substack. Substack and MailerLite are both free. BookFunnel helps to get the book promos out. So you do have got a little bit of pocket so that you have a wider reach. But as a start off, go to the book groups on social media and you can do it that way. But BookFunnel, I really do highly recommend. So get your newsletter set up, get your subscription link set up, and stick that button on your landing page because it will help. Now the planning begins. Because you've got all that done, everything is set up, you can now open a new document and start planning your book. And that's going to take you another week. So stay tuned for the next one. If everything is a little bit too overwhelming and there's just so much to do, I do offer book coaching services, and you'll find the link for that in the description box below. So I'm going to hang about a little bit and if you have any questions, I'm happy to reply.